What's good, YouTube? It's Justice. I used to be Pay, and today I'm back with another video. And in this video, I'm basically going to be giving my advice to Gunna on how he should pretty much orchestrate his career in the near future. Now, I'm basically going to be telling him things to do that would get the public perception more in his favor, and also buying him time. Because what Gunna needs right now in his career is time. Time is the most important thing for Gunna. And what I mean by time is he has to pretty much do whatever he can to give himself time before that atomic. And that atomic bomb is whatever happens in Young Thug's case. If Thug gets the book, if they throw the book at Thug and he gets 20, 30 years, or if Thug comes out and says, after the case is over, says, yeah, Gunna snitched, that's the atomic bomb. Whatever happens with Young Thug, if it's negative, if Thug gets sentenced, or if Thug comes out and says, yeah, Gunna snitched, it's over, right? It's over for Gunna. Like, he still might be able to do some solid numbers, but in terms of people messing with him, it's over because everyone loves Thug. Everyone loves Young Thug so much. He's so cool with so many people. So many fans love him that if anything bad happens to Young Thug in this case, or if Young Thug comes out and says, yeah, nah, we ain't rocking with Gunna, it might just be over for him. So I'm going to buy him time until that atomic bomb hits of Young Thug either being sentenced, or maybe Thug beats the case and comes out and says, nah, we ain't rocking with Gunna. Something of that sort. If anything where Thug comes out against Gunna or gets sentenced, it's over for Gunna. That's all I'm going to say. I'm not going to say his career is just done, but it's not going to be a good look. So I'm going to be trying to buy time until that event happens. Now, he already came back and dropped a song called Bread and Butter, and I thought the song was very solid, but it was very interesting to me the way he was rapping. It seemed like Gunna was more gangster than before. Like, you know, I never seen Gunna as like a guy who's like a super big, you know, gangster drill rap. Like, he never was rapping like that, but he would still have some lyrics in here in his music that was like, nah, like, I'm really like that. But he was talking crazy in this new song. He was talking about putting money on people's heads and whatever and all that stuff. So he was talking kind of crazy. I didn't expect him to come back like that. And again, just to confirm my stance in the situation, I'm a civilian.
Look at me. Hey. I don't stay in the projects anymore. I'm not a project baby anymore. I'm a suburbs kid. I'm a suburban.
So me making comments about who snitched, who didn't, doesn't really matter. I don't know. It doesn't matter to me because that's not my lane. But the snitch label does, it does mean a lot in rap. I can't deny that. So regardless of what I have to say, it doesn't matter what I think. But if you really want to ask my thoughts, did he snitch? I don't know. But yeah, let's just get straight into it. Gunna will always have people listening to his music because his music just carries a certain quality, like, right? Like, Gunna's music is good. It is. It just is. Like, I don't care what anyone says. I mean, obviously music is subjective, so not everyone has to think his music is good, but his music's really good. Like, just being honest. And most people really like his music. If you listen to rap music, you probably are somewhat a fan of Gunna to a certain extent, you know. But the biggest and most major thing that Gunna must do in this situation, in his career for the next year, year and a half, is keep the ambiguity high. Because there's a certain level of ambiguity that's going on with this case right now. Not everybody is jumping out the window and be like, nah, Gunna snitched. You know, people are unfollowing him and stuff, but the only person who's really made public comments that kind of matters as of right now is Lil Durk. Lil Durk's the only one who's made a public comment and be like, man, Gunna snitched. We ain't rocking with Gunna.
Believe that Gunna told that man, I don't sit up and play games, man. That man told. You should have went in there and kept your mouth closed.
Everybody else has been kind of silent. They're like, I don't know, maybe. It really seems like most people are just going to wait until whatever Young Thug says, and whatever Young Thug says is what they're going to go with. And so he has to capitalize off that ambiguity, because even as of right now, when people start talking about Gunna and did Gunna snitch, did he not, there is a conversation that's being had between the fans and between, you know, other rappers that it isn't really concrete. There are people that are still defending Gunna like, nah, he didn't snitch. You know, he did this, and, you know, maybe he was this, and maybe Thug told him to do that, and maybe it was a plan all along. Like, there's still a lot of ambiguity surrounding this case because the people who are still fighting the case obviously aren't going to say anything. They're not going to incriminate themselves. So there's a level of ambiguity that's still surrounding Gunna in this whole snitching thing that he needs to keep up. He just needs to talk as little as possible about it. You know, you can say certain things here, certain things there, but never go into detail. The moment that Gunna goes into detail is probably going to be the moment where he loses the public's approval. That's probably going to be the moment where he loses in the court of public opinion, is when he starts going into detail and saying, well, actually the lawyer said this and then I did that. And then that's why, no, shut up. Shut up. Don't say anything. Don't go into detail about what happened. It's honestly kind of ironic that I'm telling him to not say anything when he's being accused of snitching, but whatever. But by keeping this level of ambiguity, he's going to buy himself time all the way up until whatever happens with Young Thug. Whatever result happens with Young Thug is unavoidable. It's inevitable. So he can't control that. So he just needs to keep his narrative solid all the way up until that happens. So just keep the ambiguity high. Don't say anything. But I will say, if he's going to drop his music, if he's going to drop an album before whatever happens with Young Thug, he must do one interview. And that interview needs to be his own interview on his YouTube channel or whatever that is extremely controlled. And what I mean by this is an interview where him, his team, and the interviewer all sit down before it even happens. I don't know what I was doing with my hands. Him, his interviewer, and the team all sit down before the interview happens. They plan out the interview. They say, all right, you're going to ask this question, this question, this question. And then Gunna, you're going to answer with this, this, and this. We're not going to talk about this. We're not going to go into detail about that. And we're going to ask and emphasize the question of Gunna, make it all dramatic, get the lighting, get the crazy, music. And the interviewer is going to say, Gunna, did you snitch? And Gunna's going to say, no, I didn't. And that's going to be the highlight of the interview. That moment right there. Everything else is going to be super controlled. We're not going to ask about why you said YSL's a gang. We're not going to ask about, you being in the car with the drugs and, Young Thug saying it's not my, we're not going to ask about any of that. We're going to ask, did you snitch? And then we're going to ask about, oh, well, why did you say people switched up on you? Oh, well, who were you talking about in this song? Why do you feel like, certain people have turned their back on you? We're not going to ask any about the details of anything going on legally. We're going to say, oh, for legal reasons, we couldn't say anything or something like that, right? This interview is going to be extremely controlled, and it's going to control the narrative. And that's the only interview Gunna's going to do. He's not going to go on Academics. He's not going to go on Hot 97. He's not going to go on The Breakfast Club. None of that. We're going to do an extremely in-house controlled interview where we paint the narrative, we ask the questions, we answer the questions, all before we even record. Everything is planned, and then we're going to edit it, upload it to Gunna's YouTube. Outside of that, don't do any interviews. Anybody that's going to grill you, don't get on Clubhouse with Whack 100 because he's going to grill you. These guys in the media who aren't actually being controlled in this interview, they will grill you. Charlemagne would grill you. Academics would grill you. These guys would get you, nah, we not talking about that. Answer the question. So why did you say this right here? They're going to grill you. So we're going to avoid all those guys. We're going to avoid all those guys, and we're going to do our own interview, or maybe hire some journalist major who's trying to get a big break, something like that. We're going to control this narrative. And we're also going to emphasize the narrative that people have switched up on Gunna, and people who was close to him, people who are his friends, whoever else you want to include. We're going to emphasize that narrative in the music and in the interview, and maybe on Instagram posts talking about how they switched up on me and when one of his fit pics or whatever. We're going to emphasize all that. We're going to make it seem like people did Gunna wrong. We're not going to go into specifics because I don't know the specifics, obviously. But even still, like I said, we're going to keep that ambiguity high. We're going to leave everything up in the air. We're going to make everybody question everything. That's the main goal of this kind of Gunna thing that I'm planning out. Make everyone question everything. Everything. Make everyone say, well, I don't know, maybe, until there's some concreteness in this case, Gunna's going to be able to wiggle his way around and be able to have some room to still have his music career and have some success. Because again, once that Young Thug verdict comes out or Young Thug says anything, that's the atomic bomb. That's when everything changes forever. So again, until that moment comes, we're wiggling around, we're keeping the ambiguity high, we're not going into specifics about anything. We're just saying, yeah, people switched up on me, people did me wrong, and it's crazy how they did me like this. I didn't know that these people were only rocking with me for money. We're going to keep all that going. We're going to keep all that jazz going until that atomic bomb hits. That's when everything changes. Now, it's all about buying time, because even if Thug gets sentenced to, I don't know, let's say he gets 10 years, right? He may be trying to appeal it and doing all these other things. He may be trying to get a retrial or something like that. So even if Thug gets sentenced to 10, 15 years and he's trying to get a retrial, he still may not be able to say anything. He still might not be able to say anything because he's still locked into that case, still trying to fight that case. So we may even be able to buy Gunna maybe 3, 4, 5 years at this point. But again, everything changes when that atomic bomb hits, when Young Thug says something or Young Thug gets sentenced to a long period. If he gets sentenced to 20, 30 years, it doesn't matter if Young Thug never says anything. So again, we're all keeping that ambiguity high until that atomic bomb hits. And now in this time when Gunna is, kind of in this, what's the word for it? Middle ground, this kind of no man's land. There's not going to be a lot of people doing features with him. He's not going to be able to call Future. He's probably not going to be able to call, 21 Savage. He's probably not going to be able to call these guys and be like, yo, let's get on a song. But he could probably do features with smaller artists who are willing to take that risk of being associated with somebody who's a rat, potentially, right? So I would think of somebody like Yeet, maybe Summers, those type of guys. Because Yeet, if y'all remember when Gunna first came home and made a post, Yeet was the only guy under there, the only rapper that I saw who actually said anything. Now I don't know if Yeet just didn't get the memo and didn't get the message from the rest of the industry and now won't do a song with him. But I would try to make music with guys like that, people who may have some sort of tough image, but they're not really big street guys. You get what I'm saying? And work with those guys because those guys have dedicated fan bases. A Summers, a Yeet, maybe even the Opium guys. I think that'd be hard to do because Cardi's associated with Young Thug, loves Young Thug, and probably wouldn't want his artists working with Gunna. But still, try to do music with those types of artists because those artists would be a lot more willing to take that risk. You get what I'm saying? Maybe even a Jace, both fighting the accusations. And to end this off, or my last main point is to call out the picking and choosing.
Now everybody want to pick and choose.
Because that's always a major thing, right? Picking and choosing, picking and choosing. That's something that 6ix9ine said a million times throughout his whole I'm not a snitch campaign, or even if I am a snitch, they hurt me first campaign. Call out the hypocrisy, but still say that you're not a snitch. You can say, oh, you work with him like you did in the song. He said, your main brother was a rat and you do business with a rat, talking about Lil Baby. But again, still hold your maintain your innocence, but point out the hypocrisy. And also a major point that Gunna can point out about people not wanting to work with him now is that Gunna has been getting called a rat since the beginning of his career. If y'all were really locked in or really knew about Gunna, people had been calling him a rat since that Crime Stoppers video came out. People had been on his head about that, but nobody really took it super seriously. It was, again, the ambiguity was kind of there. We don't really know the whole situation, but people have been calling him a rat since that whole Crime Stoppers video came out. And 6ix9ine was one of the main guys calling Gunna a rat before Gunna even got arrested for the RICO charge.
Niggas, a rat is feeding niggas. A rat is really.
Yeah, but I call him a man.
No. I'm talking about Desiree Perez. I'm talking about rat. I'm talking about Gunna.
Wait.
Yo, bro, let's talk about it. No.
So we could use that. We could say, you know what? How you don't want to work with me now when people are calling me a rat, but y'all was okay to work with me a couple years ago when they was calling me a rat. What's the difference between now and then? Why am I, oh, you can't work with me now, but you could make a song with me back in 2018 when people were still calling me a rat? And I would say he needs to emphasize the fact that it's a trend. People calling him a rat is a trend. People are just all trend riders. Everybody's riding everybody's wave. Nobody really has any real morals. Nobody's really standing on business. Even somebody like Boosie be like, oh, Boosie was rocking with me. And people were calling me a rat over the Crime Stoppers video. But now he wants to, you get what I'm saying? Really emphasize the point that this isn't the first time Gunna's been called a rat. Still maintain that innocence of, oh, I'm not a rat. But I've also been called this before. And before, when I was working with Thug and when I was working with Lil Baby, nobody cared. Everybody loved me. Everybody wanted a song with Gunna. Everyone was pushing P. Everyone was Gunna wanna. But now, because Lil Baby don't want to rock with me, everybody's following the trend. Everybody's riding a wave. Because Lil Durk don't want to rock with me, everybody's following the trend. Everybody's riding a wave. I would do that. I think that would be a really good point to bring up. That would win him a lot of people over. And to finish off the whole thing, don't go the 6ix9ine route. Don't go the 6ix9ine route. Again, with Gunna, remember the ambiguity. Keep the ambiguity high because 6ix9ine could go into detail about what happened to him because those guys actually did him wrong. Even though he's still told it doesn't really change anything, those guys actually did stuff to him. And 6ix9ine has something that Gunna doesn't. And that is this. 6ix9ine can run his mouth really well. He can really shape narratives. A lot of people listen to 6ix9ine and they're like, damn, this makes a lot of sense. I don't know if Gunna has that skill. Not to be like disrespecting Gunna and trying to be like, oh, he's an idiot. I don't know if Gunna can do that to the extent that 6ix9ine could. So 6ix9ine could do all the interviews. He could talk to Whack 100. He could yell back and forth with Whack 100. He could go on Clubhouse. He can go on Academics podcast. He can go on other podcasts and talk about it. But Gunna doesn't really strike me as a guy that really has that skill. So again, whenever people want to go into detail about what happened, that's when you stop talking. That's when you just zip your mouth and say it's for legal reasons. That, you could run with that excuse until the trial's over pretty much. But I think if Gunna sticks to that game plan I just let out, he could still have a very successful career until that atomic bomb hits. But I do think Gunna, if he drops an album before the trial happens, it could still sell maybe like 100K. Because a majority of fans really don't care. Like, just being honest. The only ones who really care at this moment are like the really, really street guys. Everybody else is kind of like, we don't care as long as Gunna's music is good. But if anything happens to Young Thug because of this case, or if Young Thug comes out and says something, that will change the narrative because people love Young Thug and have for years. That will definitely change the narrative surrounding Gunna. But I think if Gunna sticks that program, he could still have a very successful career. I'm not going to say he's going to be out here doing shows and doing festivals. I don't know if he'll be doing all that, and I don't know if I'd prescribe him to do all that, but he could still drop music and do very solid numbers and still make a lot of money. But that's the end of my video. If you agree with anything I said in this video, leave a comment down below. If you disagree with what I said in this video, leave a comment down below. But this was kind of like a plan. This was me building a blueprint for Gunna to have a consistent, successful career after this whole incident. And I think it's a very solid plan. And again, even if you're like, bro, you shouldn't be supporting a snitch, you gotta admit, whatever I said in this video, I thought it made a lot of sense. And I thought it's something that Gunna could use to his advantage in his career all the way up until that atomic bomb hits. But if you like this video, leave a like, leave a subscribe. I appreciate it if you made it this far. Thank you so much. I truly, truly appreciate you. Have a great day. Have a blessed day. Peace.